Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. Now, over the last few days, I've been spending a lot of time educating the veteran community about how private DBQs and private medical opinions work in the VA process and providing some education about how they become disqualified and for the various reasons. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that education. Now, what I'd like to focus on today is, okay, now what? My private DBQ or medical opinion has been disqualified. How do I remedy that? How do I fix that? And that's what we're going to be talking about. So, first thing I want to discuss in this topic is I want to make a clear boundary here in that there are 4 different reasons why a private DBQ can be disqualified. 2 of them have to do with fraud, and 2 of them don't have to do with fraud, I guess is probably the better way to put that. So the first reason why a private DBQ or medical opinion can be disqualified is inauthenticity. Now in my videos, I provided you one specific example of inauthenticity, and that's where the examiner is trying to use legal anise to influence or pressure a specific outcome, where it's clear that they're not neutral. That's just one facet of that very multifaceted category of inauthenticity. And I'll just show this real quick. So there's a lot of different things that fall under inauthenticity. Some of them are bad and some of them are benign. A lot of the time, private DBQs will be disqualified for the provider living more than 100 miles away from the veteran. Okay. I don't agree with that one, but it's just we've got to color in the lines of the VA. So that's another potential inauthenticity, right? But there's also credibility. Credibility is the second category of why your particular DBQ could be disqualified. Now, credibility is kind of an odd one because that's in the eye of the beholder. So the eye of the staff member where you start to lose credibility. If you're caught in a clear lie, that's a credibility issue. If the examiner is caught in a clear lie, that's a credibility issue. So credibility is a harder one to kind of remedy, I guess, but we'll be talking about it a little bit. The third category has to do with sufficiency. Now, sufficiency can be something as in there's different examiner qualification and signature requirements. If you had your VHA doctor fill out a DBQ or medical opinion, these are the requirements for them. Not very much. If you have somebody that's a non-VA healthcare provider, well, they've got a little bit more to do. And sometimes it's not very intuitive for them to know that they need to put all this stuff on there. Now, obviously, the private DBQs and whatnot, or the public-facing DBQs, they have that information on there. But sometimes, I don't know, like when they get scanned or faxed or whatever, sometimes the signatures don't show up and, it's harmless. So of the 3 that I just mentioned, the sufficiency review is the most harmless one because the examiner didn't do something that they should have. Okay. That's basically what it boils down to. That's the harmless one. And the remedy for the sufficiency is just add the thing that was missing. That's basically the remedy for that one. Now, the 2, the authenticity and credibility, those have to deal with fraud for the most part. They're potential indicators of fraud. Now, the 4th category has to do with the VA staff member just didn't do what they were supposed to do. I'm going to add it in. It's not an official category, but I'm just going to say, devil's advocate, the VA just didn't do it. They were chasing points. They were doing whatever they were doing. They disqualified it because they wanted more points to order an exam, whatever. Okay. Now, the question that you're going to ask yourself is, okay, that's fine and great, Raider. You told me about the 4 different categories. how am I, the veteran, supposed to know what's going on? And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you asked. So what I think that you need to do is you need to understand what the problem is. And in order to do that, if you're somebody that has filed the claim on your own, you will need to go to a VSO, preferably free, right? A free option VSO. You'll need to go to them and figure out what's going on. Or if you're somebody that paid somebody to help you with your claim, to coach you with your claim, just go to them. They're an expert, right? They'll claim, like they claim on YouTube to be an expert. So just go to them. And in both cases, what I want you to do is the following. Have them pull up VBMS. Okay, VBMS is the VA's program. It shows all the documents. It shows all the claim notes. It shows everything. Okay. Now, there's a specific process for the rater or VSR to disqualify a DBQ or medical opinion. Okay. And what you're going to ask those subject matter experts, the people that can look up VBMS, is you're going to ask them to go in and check the claim notes for the specific claim that this DBQ or medical opinion are associated with, right? Because you can't fix a problem you don't understand. So you want to figure out what they took issue with. Was it authenticity, credibility, sufficiency, or is there nothing there and they just kind of did a thing? Because knowing that will dictate how you remedy the problem. Now, I know what's going to happen is you're going to go to the people and they're going to knee-jerk do a higher level review. Okay. Now that's amateur hour. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's amateur hour. And the reason why is because higher level reviews, you can't add any new evidence, right? Well, let's say that the examiner didn't sign the form. Okay. That's a sufficiency issue. So something is missing. So in order to remedy that missing signature, you would have to give a new document with a new signature on it. The higher level review DRO, decision review officer, won't take that into consideration because they can't take new evidence into consideration. That would be new evidence. Even though it's just missing a signature, that's new evidence. So if the person that's helping you doesn't understand the process, they might give you a remedy of a higher level review that doesn't apply, right? Now, let's say that the VSR or rater, they did some shenanigans and did stuff for points. But in fact, your particular DBQ or medical opinion was sufficient. It met all the criteria for authenticity, credibility, and sufficiency. Well, a higher level review might be good in that case. But you need to explain what steps they didn't take. Because you have to remember, going through a higher level review, you can't just go, they were wrong. Because decision review officers go until they find an error. And the best practice on that is for you to competently, with expertise, have somebody help you identify where the specific error was, so that way you keep the decision review officer busy, because they can go back throughout time of all your rating decisions and just look for things that are wrong. If you don't give them something that is specifically wrong that you can cite, and you can cite the M21 to show that it was wrong, well, that's going to cause a problem potentially for the veteran. That's where higher level reviews can oftentimes be the reason why veterans are reduced, severed, things like that, because the decision review officer is not isolated to that sole, based on their QRT reviews. They have to go until they find an error. If they got a quality review and somebody looked through the entirety of the claim and found an error that they missed, they can catch an error. So keep that in mind. So moving back onto this. So the solution to the problem will be dictated by the problem itself. So go to the people that helped you, have them look up what the problem is, so that way you can remedy it. If it's an inauthenticity issue, like with those videos that I talked about, I stayed within the confines of inauthenticity for that. Whenever examiners are trying to pressure an outcome, that's them being biased. That's inauthentic, right? They're not being authentic because they're not being neutral and unbiased. So in that situation, what I would probably do is I would probably have the examiner remove the unnecessary legalese that appears to try to sway the outcome of the medical opinion. And then I would do a supplemental claim. Because once again, you're changing the document and submitting it as new evidence. Okay. So a supplemental claim would be your better option in that. If you choose the wrong option, it won't remedy anything. So if you go with a higher level review when you shouldn't, it won't remedy anything. If you go with a supplemental claim when you shouldn't, and you should have went through a higher level review, it probably won't remedy anything. A supplemental claim still can potentially remedy something, but the decision review officer has the ability to have what is known as a difference of opinion. So they have more power and authority to change things than, say, a rater just reviewing this new evidence. And it could potentially affect the effective date of your award. So having a competent person review what the problem is, in my personal opinion, that's what's important. You can throw spaghetti at the wall all day, and will some of it get through? Sure, some of it will. I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So that is my remedy for if your private DBQ is disqualified, you get a subsequent examination. Well, I wouldn't just take it. I would go back, get those experts working, right? Get them into VBMS, have them review what's wrong with it. This is a fixable problem. They can fix it, right? They can tell you what's wrong with the problem. And sometimes there are things that are just honestly not fixable. Like if they cited that you went to Afghanistan and you never went to Afghanistan, well, that particular theory or process, how you were trying to approach it, is dead, right? Because the facts aren't there. But if the facts are there and we're just dealing with, they kind of overreached because they were trying to be too helpful, and maybe they said some legalese to try to help you, because that could be true, right? They could just try to help and be proactive in helping, which it's not helpful, but fair enough. Then they would just remove that helpful legalese out of there and you'd resubmit it and try again. If it has to do with, like, if somebody forged something, that's a little bit harder. That's a credibility issue. And that, I'm not going to say you're blackballed, but if they're identifying credibility issues, then you're not a good reporter at that point in time. Whoever did the thing is not a good reporter. So they're not likely to believe lay statements or statements by that person if they are proven to be somebody that did something bad. Now, the sufficiency stuff is easy to win all day long. But the problem with the sufficiency things, okay, is that when we're talking about sufficiency, the person that's helping you, the expert, they have to know the manual. They've got to know what was required in order to determine whether or not the sufficiency was satisfied or not satisfied. So choose your experts wisely. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different moving parts here. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of experts on the internet will say that this is the process is very simple when it comes to this, but there are so many moving parts that if you don't understand the problem, you can make the problem worse by doing just random things. And I know for a fact over the years, this knee-jerk, do a higher level review thing. That's everybody's answer to everything. It's like Karen going to see your man. I want to talk to your manager. Sure. Like the staff members eye roll as much as staff members in a Walmart eye roll. But if you want to have a higher likelihood of getting that legitimate DBQ or medical opinion that was disqualified used as evidence, because if it's been disqualified, it will not be used as evidence because it was disqualified. That's how that works. But if you want it to be used in the next claim, then just go to individuals, experts that have access to what the problem is. If they can't tell you what the problem is, should they be helping you? Because they'll give you an answer. They'll say, oh, we'll just do this. Okay, but do you know what the problem is? Because you can make it worse. So I'd be very cautious with that personally. Just my personal opinion on the topic. Now, that's about all I got for you today. Now, I'm recording this on Saturday, but I'm going to upload it on Monday because we're going live on Monday. And that's about it. Now, am I going to tell you who to go to, who should be an expert that you should go to? No, I'm actually not going to do that, because I'm going to let the veteran community, veterans like to have choice. So I'm going to let you choose who you go to. But just go ask them to look in VBMS, see what the problem is, see what the person took issue with, so you can fix it. I mean, if you paid money to have that person evaluate you, I'd like to salvage it personally if I were you. I mean, I would. I wouldn't want to just throw that money away. And this is another hilarious thing. I can't even with this. So let's say that you get disqualified and you go back to the examiner and you go, well, wait a minute, I got disqualified. Well, that's premature of you to go to the examiner if you don't even know why it was disqualified. Because what will happen is a lot of the time the examiner will write a rebuttal. Well, if that rebuttal if that doctor doesn't understand what was wrong, why it got disqualified to begin with, and why they got the subsequent examination, then potentially paying for another round of disqualification isn't going to help you any. Because if you were disqualified because of their NPI number information not matching up, and they do another medical opinion for you at X number of dollars, how does that help you? Because it's just going to be disqualified again, because guess what they didn't update? They didn't update the NPI registry number. And you didn't know that because you weren't able to check and find out what the problem was. So anyway, guys, there's a lot of moving parts here. And I just say, go to your expert and have them tell you what the problem is whenever you get your thing disqualified. And on a final note, I will say, not every single DBQ that gets disqualified is because the examiner is a bad person, or the examination was bad, or they're fraudulent. Remember, there's multiple categories as to why something can be fraudulent. I just so happen focused on a very narrow niche of pretty certain disqualifications whenever somebody wants to not be an unbiased provider. And the reason why I focused on that is because I had seen in reviewing for board accredited claims, medical opinions that got disqualified and they were doing the legal and ease. I've seen it whenever I was rating claims too, but it came to mind because I was seeing it. And guess what? So far, not one single human being has said the name of the company that I actually witnessed in the veterans thing. So let's just keep that clear, because a lot of people are jumping to really weird conclusions that this person's wrong, that person's wrong. Keep in mind, if that person lives 100 miles away from the veteran, they will almost always be deemed wrong. It's not their fault. I mean, it's geographic location. It's not whether or not the person provided a good medical outcome. So let's not get that twisted, guys. Okay. I was just talking about the legal and ease aspect of it, because it was overt and it was frustrating how over the top that person wanted that outcome. That, not the veteran, the examiner, how far they went. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Okay. And, that's about all I got for you in this one. I've tried recording this like 16 times, and I think this is going to be the one that fit. But anyway, Raider out.